Hi, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I hope you're having a great weekend so far. It's a very powerful, powerful weekend, as many already know. Here we are in solstice time. Solstice, the first day of Cancer. And it's a summer solstice, and we also have the eclipse, the solar eclipse and new moon happening this weekend. And actually tonight, this will take place at 11:41 p.m. Pacific time. So just adjust that, right? So the sun moving into Cancer is actually conjunct the North Node in Gemini. And this is what makes it an eclipse, because eclipses represent an interaction with the nodal axis. And the fact that the North Node is in the sign of Gemini, where the North Node recently was in the sign of Cancer, we're now shifting into the healing of the throat chakra. Before, it was really about, looking at this South Node Capricorn energy with the conjunctions of Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, and how that represents dark cycles of our human history, and also how we personally relate to it, and how important it is that we let go of the old paradigm so that we're not played anymore, because the old paradigm really represents being in the personality matrix, under the net, under kind of social engineering agendas and different events that have taken place throughout history to conquer and divide us, like root races being pit against each other, when in actual fact we need to come together to switch those dormant strands on. But it's a part of the free will experience, and we all participate to a certain degree. I mean, this is the shadow work that we're doing on a personal level and also collectively, to see where we fall into all of this. I mean, our history is so much vaster than we can begin to comprehend. Our educational systems have not given us a real clue about our galactic history, what our DNA is truly all about, our junk DNA. And it hasn't really appreciated, taking care of the star seeds. In fact, those that were considered gifted were, often shuffled into things like my labs and different projects and programs. So the hijacking has been something that has just been around for quite some time, and we're talking like a long time, and it's just got such a huge history to it, that relates to why we are where we are today. And I do a lot of presentations about this. I just did an 8-hour workshop, so it's so easy to want to get on that roll and just like begin to want to share it all. But there's ways to get those presentations to you, and a lot of them are free online. So in this time of having the sun move into Cancer, it being a solstice time, and that's when the sun stands still between the light and the dark, and we can see this as a pivotal time of integrating polarity, which is what we're here to do as humans anyway. Looking at a person's astrological chart, when you see the South Node is the energy signature they were born with. But as a soul, when we think through the lens or the embodiment of ourselves as souls, we know deep down that we need to integrate polarity, and it's already set up for us. So we're born with the South Node energy signature, and in our lifetime, we need to integrate the North Node. We need to, step into that. So we have that in our personal charts, but when we look at it, like as far as the transits and what's going on currently, it's more of a collective thing that we need to address. It's a growth period that humanity is currently going through. So in a solstice eclipse time, which is very rare, it gives us a chance to sort of reset. A new moon in and of itself is a seed planting day, but the power of eclipses, along with the solstice, is going to reverberate or last for like 6 months. So the seeds we plant and the things that we're connecting to during these times are going to, really show up for quite some time. And that's why it's important to be grounded, centered, and really, speaking one's truth, because this is what the growth period right now is for humanity. The sun's moved into Cancer, but, we've gotten out of the North Node being in Cancer, the South Node being in Capricorn with the conjunctions, which is saying we need to let go of the old paradigm. I mean, that's where it's easy for us to be the most compromised. That fear of the unknown, that push to go into something unfamiliar. But the great lesson is, or the great reminder is that it's actually incredibly familiar to us. It's way more familiar than we realize. Everything under the sun is trying to trip us up out there, though, and distract us away from this. So the growth period, was very much about looking at that programming of the Saturn moon matrix, patriarchy, any form of imbalance that makes us a breeding ground for archonic parasites. We needed to, kind of address that. And so addressing it sometimes means we have to experience a crisis. We have to actually see the ramifications of the belief systems we've held so that we can begin to know how to adjust. And that is the hope, that during this period, we will know how to adjust instead of get further and further entrained in the social engineering, the mind control, the trigger events, and the different things that they are trying to induce in us in order to keep us from this incredible growth period. So recently the nodes shifted, and now the North Node's in the sign of Gemini. So in this eclipse time, it's conjunct the sun and new moon. And the South Node is Sagittarius. So the South Node is something we're drawing upon, just like I was talking about, with these conjunctions, and the Capricorn South Node we just recently had. It takes us into the dark cycles of history where we're still hanging on to ancestral patterns, belief systems, any form of conditioning or control that is still hooking into us and siphoning us, and our need to step into the North Node Cancer, but not, on the artificial moon level of it, which is the Saturn moon matrix. It's been about deprogramming. So we're at the next level of that. We're deprogramming now in this time with where the sun and new moon are, where our throat chakra or where our communication has fallen into these agendas, where we emulate that without realizing it, where we pass on these viruses without realizing it. And I'm talking about the viruses of, mind control. Again, on a more sort of larger global level. And there's many different types of, mind control. And the goal is that, it pits us against each other. Mind control separates us from our physical body. It doesn't allow us to connect with our healing power, our regenerative abilities, and it doesn't help us to upgrade our DNA. So, we've been dealing with the tree of knowledge, and we've needed to gain self-knowledge, and it's been targeted by all these things that have pulled us out of ourselves, externalizing everything so that every time there's a crisis or an adversity, we give our power away. Well, false flag events and different things that take place are crisis events. So we need to learn to leverage that adversity to help us to wake up, to help us to step into our truth, to help us to break the cycle and break the patterns. So with the sun in Cancer and new moon in Cancer, being conjunct the North Node in Gemini, with us drawing upon the Sagittarian South Node, we have a chance to purify our throat chakra and the way we communicate. Our growth period right now as a humanity is learning how to communicate with each other. So the South Node, which used to be in Capricorn, we are drawing upon more of the traumas and old paradigm stuff that we're unconsciously maybe still linked with the need to let it go. If we don't let go of things that don't serve us, it can become toxic and it can make us sick. So bioweapon or not, if we don't choose to jump over these obstacles, then we can't complete the alchemy and transformation, and we get sort of locked into the growth, or we feel lodged in the birth canal is how I usually put it. And we can't seem to talk our way into like a more beautiful future. So now that the South Node is shifted to Sagittarius, we're drawing upon the energy of Jupiter, and Jupiter has been conjunct Pluto. And this week it actually forms a harmonious aspect with Mars. And so we're able to kind of, maybe see where we fall into combativeness and aggression and ego identity issues to the point of slamming others or feeling very triggered by anybody who feels differently about what's going on in the world, and what, we should be, looking at or working out. So we're not all going to see it the same way, but there are definite tactics connected to the dark cabal and how, they want to, leverage traumas from our past. So if we've been dealing with a Venus retrograde, we're already processing things in the past. So what better than to, you know, create an event that is going to bring up some of the issues and traumas of, you know, our history. And again, it's not all false, but there are false flag components to it. It's like 9/11. People got hurt, people died. This represented a huge crisis and a need to awaken, to understand what is behind this, what layers exist behind this. And in asking those questions, the anomalies began to really stand out. The anomalies connected to how would these buildings possibly fall in the way that they fell. So anyway, we're going through a big upgrade connected to our throat chakra, and drawing upon a South Node Sagittarius is going to connect us to more advanced lifetimes that we've had, because the Jupiter energy, which is opposite Gemini, relates to the more expanded mind, the open mind, the philosophical mind, more of our, you know, wisdom body and the wisdom that we gain through life experience. So we're learning to bring that through the North Node, which is what we're stepping into. What we're stepping into is an upgrade of how we communicate, how we spread information. And so part of that growth period is seeing the things that don't work, and seeing, you know, a certain amount of conflict and strife surface, so that we can recognize, you know, what doesn't work. Because obviously what doesn't work is not going to allow us to advance. And that's no different in our personal relationships. One of the biggest things that happens in personal relationships is we learn how to effectively communicate in a way that's not insulting, in a way that's not triggering, in a way that's respectful. So there's a lot of, you know, different terminologies and words that have been used to describe, you know, a response and reaction to, you know, these events and different movements that have been, you know, pushed on us, that do need to be addressed, but we have to be careful of addressing it in attachment or through the filter of this level of infiltration that's doing it in a way that's not getting us very far. It's keeping us on this hamster wheel, like locked in a time loop that we, you know, aren't able to break, because we're not seeing, wow, you know, history is repeating itself. Can we do it on a higher level? It's like if you're in a relationship and the same thing comes up and up again, that keeps you from being able to get to a greater sense of togetherness or love bond, you know, feeling more bonded in a love kind of way, then usually those relationships don't work out. So we're required to upgrade the way we communicate in order to have healthy relationships. And that is what we're dealing with on a humanity level. You know, how much are we operating from something outside of ourselves that's encouraging it through media, through our devices, through the AI component that does have a dark agenda to sink us into these divide and conquered places, so that it can, you know, assimilate us into AI. So I could go on about that, but, you know, we are going through a huge growth period. So during this eclipse solstice energy this weekend, I think really addressing the throat chakra, you know, maybe putting essential oils on it, or, you know, speaking your truth more, and being willing to just kind of step back and notice the vibration of your words and the results and you know, kind of like the outcome of like what happens when you share. So sometimes you're going to share truth and it's not going to go over so well, but sometimes it might, and you might notice people are really interested in what you have to say. So it's going to be a mixed bag. But how do we respond to those that might not agree with us? That's where we want to catch ourselves. Just like when everything's great and the sun is shining and everything feels abundant, you know, we're not really being challenged. So it's not very, you know, difficult to hold a space of calm and joy. But when the stress factors hit, when the storms hit, when adversity strikes, you know, it's going to really bring out, you know, our true self. How do we respond to stress? And there's many levels to our true self. So it's not always needing to be induced by stress, but does adversity bring out the best of us or the worst of us? It's just like when we reflect on the troubles that we might have gone through in our life, are we willing to heal and help others in light of the fact that we had to do that ourselves? Or are we a victim? Or do we want to drag everybody down? Do we want to, you know, hurt others in the same way that we were hurt? So there's two kind of responses that we, you know, can always have. There's the higher road and there's sort of the middle road, and then there's definitely the lower road. So, you know, we really just got to check ourselves. This is really about the inner work. Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius, is helping us to connect with our more expanded and higher mind. But the fact that the planet Jupiter has been next to Pluto offers us the chance to really do a big clearing. And with the Mars energies forming harmonious aspects, you know, we can invite our ego identity into the mix in order to upgrade our sense of identity. And, you know, the most important thing is, you know, we don't need to think the same. We just need to cooperate. We need to hold strong intention for, you know, healing and transformation. That's what's available. And staying aligned with that is going to, wow, there's a golden or a bald eagle. Staying aligned with that is going to open up a space for us to have upgrades. It's going to open up a space for the solutions to override the corruption and the control and all these things that are actually trying to mask and shut down the very things that are ready to blossom. You know, so that's what hijacking does. And this is what's been happening for many thousands of years, is that every time we're about to take a huge leap, something happens to sink our energy. But if we can just allow this process to continue to take place and shield ourselves a little bit from the anxiety and the survival that it ignites, and hold a vision and keep those goals intact as far as our conscious connection to it, and stay consistent with it, and speak with other like-minded people, that's going to override it. Because the magician can create miracles, and that's our throat, that's our voice. And so that's the upgrade happening. That's the growth period. And as we do that, you know, especially in this Cancer energy, we can begin to reach the higher octaves of lunar energy, because the frequency of truth is going to help us to overcome, you know, things like exploded planets in our ancient history, things that really compromise the masculine and feminine, and our capacity to have our 12-strand DNA and beyond, you know, functioning and firing. Instead, we've been dealing with junk DNA. We were told it was junk DNA in the school system. So we are rewriting the script based in truth, our own truth frequency, and our ability to have an open mind to other stuff so that we can, you know, have healthy conversations about, to connect dots and see what's going on. But so in rewriting all of this, coming from a place of authenticity, we are able to generate a better world that is connected to cosmic and natural law, that by its own very nature knows how to correct itself, that we can align with. And that's where the mind control and the social engineering takes us away. We're at a critical phase. I mean, we are in a window where all of this is naturally, organically happening. The sun started to move through the 13th sign of Fiacus in 2010. There was a major timeline shift. There's so much evidence to support the fact that this is a time of human advancement and gaining sovereignty and moving into higher earth energies and greater, you know, cooperation and unity. But again, you know, there's going to be this artificial timeline and this archonic, you know, AI imitator that will literally you know, want to, you know, keep us in a low vibration and replay, you know, traumas, keep us in the trauma loop, in that feedback loop that cannot break through the net. So we have a choice right now. And when we make a choice to be on the organic ascension timeline, it's not going to take figuring it out. It's going to take, though, us shutting everything else down so that we can enjoy that alignment. So that when we speak, we're not emulating the mind control, the social engineering, the viruses. We're able to complete this growth period, enhance our immune system, let go of the old paradigm, begin to move into higher dimensional energies and activate dormant DNA. And in doing that and taking care of the terrain of our body and our consciousness, it will be inhospitable to archons and germs and viruses and bioweapons and dark technologies. So we need that upgrade right now. And this is pushing us to the edge. And yes, we got to hold those accountable that need to be held accountable, just like we have to hold ourselves accountable to where we've given our power away and where we've allowed these things into our space. And as we do this, and as we activate this on such a powerful weekend, you know, I think people will notice a lot more forgiveness and a lot more compassion in the way that we share information, recognizing that old model or that old, you know, way of being, you know, doesn't need to, you know, be there anymore. It can be very, you know, immature, and it can be, you know, very threatened. But yeah, I mean, we have to rehabilitate. We are rebuilding so much. And So, you know, think about the goals, think about the solutions, energize yourself with the feeling of inspiration about those things. That also brings in that Jupiter energy of expansion and higher mind, you know, and your own sovereign connection, you know, being expressed is going to wipe out all those, you know, different, you know, things that, you know, are looking to feed and are desperate to feed. So remember the game that we're dealing with, and utilize this time to, you know, amplify a much greater way of sharing and communicating, knowing that the throat chakra is connected to 5D, is connected to alchemy, is connected to bringing in the ether, connecting with the higher self in order to mix that substance with the throat chakra to actually express things that can, you know, heal one another, uplift us, even clear toxicity from our environment, and literally dismantle and neutralize the dark weapons, and literally, you know, shift how our body assimilates things like all the nano particles and smart dust and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that. I am going to do the astro chart of Trump, but I wanted to make sure to get, you know, something out there. And, you know, this is, you know, a huge time. So hopefully you'll be able to hold some great space for yourself and connect with, you know, family and loved ones, and connect with the earth, and sing or write, you know, write poetry, and just allow yourself to generate what is beautiful and true to you. Because those codes make all the difference in the world. Be very careful of taking too much in and too much on. That's going to begin to crush you and throw you into that survival chakra where you can't, you know, think straight at all. And there's a lot going on that's going to make us feel that way. So there's threats about where we're heading, you know, second wave, and some of the rules in certain states of being, you know, masked, and all children being masked. So I'm really looking to create things with people. I'll be putting out those videos of some of these potential collaborations and things that we're all doing on our own anyway, that will help people transition out of the matrix, to help them safely bridge themselves over to doing their mission, doing their purpose, and feeling, you know, supported. And you know, we need to be great liberators for one another. We need to help set one another free, and we need to gather our resources and make it possible, and be of service in this way, and also take care of our own needs, know where we need discernment and boundaries, and just know that you're rediscovering yourself. This is a reunion. We are learning to reclaim that which was lost and stolen. And before they take us to the next level of enslavement, in this crossroads where we're about to regain it all, we need to keep moving in that direction to get those activations. Because right as we're about to awaken, they want to shut us down even further. So keep moving in the direction of expansion, growth, humility, receptivity, and creative action. And allow all that stuff to be starved, and allow it to just begin to, you know, fall away. These are the times. This is critical. Thanks everybody for listening. Bye.